or false. So the arrest convention.
The Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Programme today held a training session at the Gateway Hotel, mainly focused on 3 different conventions, which included the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Agreement, according to the Director for Pacific Regional Centre, Waigani. Director Joshua Sem says the conventions are important for those companies that participated today in the training.
I've done a refresher on the overview of the Basel as well as the Rotterdam and Stockholm conventions, what they entail, various obligations of parties to them. And then we've mainly focused on illegal trade and trafficking in waste and chemicals, because it is now slowly evolving into a concern for a lot of countries ever since China placed a ban on accepting imports of plastic waste in 2018.
He said that it is important for waste management companies to fully understand national legal and institutional frameworks to implement the conventions and waste in a regional workshop in a combination of face-to-face sessions running in parallel with participating countries with a regional online training.
The other component of the project is we've engaged a legal consultant to help PNG work with the Office of the Legislative Council to draft legislations and in particular regulations that will help to domesticate PNG's responsibilities under the conventions. So yes, we are actively working with SEPA to help them develop those regulations.
The training was to help waste management companies with capacity building, knowing legal framework and other areas such as enforcement, illegal trade and traffic, role of customs in the enforcement of the Basel Convention, identification of illegal traffic and the role of police. From Total Waste Management, Director Corey Chan said it was really important to see the SPREP highlight areas of improvement when it comes to waste management.
One, to drive awareness and education about international conventions that exist, and particularly a country like Papua New Guinea, where we're heavily industrialised when it comes to the Pacific Islands nations. We tend to produce a lot of different waste materials where we don't have the facilities right now to be able to treat and dispose of it in country. So I guess this workshop is really about understanding what those international conventions are, understanding the risks that are involved, understanding the potential penalties that are involved, but also the processes. But I think what it's highlighted as well is just the importance of, one, if we truly appreciate and respect our environment, we need to make it a #1 priority.
He said it is important to understand the legal framework when dealing with waste management.
From our perspective at TWM, we've been sort of abiding by some of these international conventions and regulations and standards when, with the shipment of hazardous waste offshore. Okay, so, but I guess we're also on a journey as a company, and I think it's important to have private sector mixing with public sector to drive awareness and improvement in the system. As a company, we're looking at introducing in-country treatment and disposal, and that way it can help mitigate some of this risk about reducing the amount of shipments overseas carrying hazardous waste. So, it's really important to have these sort of workshops, have that interaction between different departments, and also having private sector, because I think to create and build a waste sector, you need the private sector to drive it, okay? And then we need to be able to push government and the public sector to recognise it, but also to provide the framework and the systems and the processes where it can make it a fair playing field, but also make it a compliant playing field as well.
Corey added that it was also important to discuss the national experience of handling cases of illegal traffic in hazardous and other wastes, problems associated with chemicals in the Pacific region and capacity building initiatives which were deliberated throughout the training.